civic engagement and political power among members of the South Asian community nationwide. Our leadership team at SAFA is truly a diverse family, inclusive of all communities that form the South Asian diaspora. And we are so fortunate to have amongst us members of the Bangladeshi American community who are trailblazers and inspiring leaders nationwide, including Georgia State Senator Sheikh Rahman, former US Ambassador to Fiji, Ambassador Usman Sadiq, a former presidential API Commission member, Dr. Nina Ahmed, Vice Chair of the Democratic Asian Americans of Virginia and SAFA Candidates Chair, Anika Rahman, and the Fairfax Young Democrats Vice President and SAFA Virginia Co-State Director, Saddam Aslan Salim, and SAFA Communications Team member, Sadia Obedul, among many others. Bangladeshi Americans are one of the fastest growing Asian groups in the US, with their numbers surging 263% just over the past 2 decades, from 57,000 in 2000 to 208,000 in 2019, according to the latest US Census data. Bangladeshi Americans are also one of the most politically engaged groups in the South Asian diaspora, and at the forefront of many advocacy campaigns nationwide. And recently, we have seen a tremendous increase in the number of Bangladeshi Americans making history by being elected to public office at all levels. We are so fortunate to have many of these trailblazers join us tonight on 2 distinct panels. Our first panel on Bangladeshi Americans in leadership, and the second panel on promoting Bangladeshi American in civic engagement. And now, it is my great honor to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Anika Rahman, SAFA's chair of candidates, who will be moderating our first panel. So take it away, Anika.
Thank you so much, Neha. Thank you, Neha, for your leadership and everything you do. Welcome, everyone. My name is Anika Rahman, and I'm honored to be your SAFA's Candidate Recruitment Training and Program Chair. As a proud Bangladeshi American, I'm excited for this event, which brings a lot of our Bangladeshi trailblazers and change makers together tonight. I've had the privilege of working in Virginia politics for over 10 years with several candidates, including as the second vice chair for Democratic Asian Americans of Virginia. And I've also had the honor of actively being with a lot of Bangladeshi American organizations, which allows me to meet so many incredible and humble leaders who are with us tonight. I'm excited to be your moderator for the first panel with an outstanding group of Bangladeshi Americans, including elected and appointed leaders at the national, state, local, and candidate level. Our first guest is Senator Sheikh Rahman, which we're always honored to have and excited to see. Senator Sheikh Rahman is most known for revered Bangladeshi American elected leaders in the country. Senator Sheikh Rahman, who made history in 2018 as the first immigrant, first Asian American, first Muslim, and first Bangladeshi American to be elected to Georgia State Senate. Senator Rahman, who is member of SAFA's Advisory Council, serves as a chair of the Gwinnett Senate delegation and serves as various Senate committee, including Economic Development and Tourism, Government Oversight, and Special Judiciary Committee. Senator Rahman welcomes today's event. Senator Rahman, we're always excited to have you. Now that your political journey is so inspiring and one of the most encouraging ones in Bangladeshi American community, can you share with us some of the highlights from your journey and also speak to deep-rooted connections that you have with the Bangladeshi American community nationwide and your efforts to ensure that their voices are also well represented?
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. It's glad to be with you all. But, I'm sitting in a car, actually. I hope you don't mind, because we're in a session right now, and I'm at the Georgia State University program. I was attending one, but anyway, I'm honored to represent not only Bangladeshi, some of the Asian American and the immigrant, one of the most diverse state senate in the state of Georgia, and Bangladesh community is thriving in Georgia and around the country, and the number that we hear about officially over 200,000 or so. I think the number is not really correct. I think we have probably twice as much, or, I think, but somehow anyway, I haven't seen the latest number, but Bangladesh community is thriving. I'm so blessed to represent Bangladesh, and glad to see all these Bangladeshi people coming up that we elected first city council, in New York, Shahana, first, judge in Queens County. We have in Georgia Nabila running. We have, so many other Bangladeshi running in all different, part of the country, getting involved in, political process. So I'm really blessed and all. It's not me. It's not about, individual. This is about Bangladesh as a country, as a Bangladeshi. What I think about it, if the Bangladesh wasn't, if we weren't independent, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be here. Bangladesh, just the creation of Bangladesh, gave us an opportunity to come this country and grow as a Bangladeshi. I mean, that's a blessing itself. That's a blessing itself, And I'm so glad to see that our community is thriving all over the country, not only in politics, and science and technology and businesses. We are growing by numbers, and I'm very optimistic the next generation of Bangladeshi will go much more farther than we ever had. Because, when I came to this country, people told me, a lot of things, I heard you had discrimination like openly, or you can get promoted because you have a communication problem. You can talk, you don't have a college degree. Guess what? I think I still have some communication problem, but I don't care. It's okay. That's fine. But so we have come a long way, and I'm so glad and so happy. I can't just explain. I can tell you that it's very hard emotionally to even think about it, how far we have come. And thank you, all Bangladeshi around in this country, and whoever, all of you all representing Bangladesh well. And if you think that somebody's not doing as well as some of us, we need to reach out and help everybody. And that's the only way we can grow and represent Bangladesh well in this country, and that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to take too much time. I know, I'm really emotional to see that how far we have come. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rahman. We always appreciate your time. I know you're in session, you're in your car. Let it be known that we always witness the hard work you put for our community, for making time for your constituents and everyone around the Bangladeshi community. Thank you so much, and good luck with your session.
Thank you.
We're excited to next see.
If you don't mind, I hope you don't.
No, we understand. Thank you.
I'm going to leave if you don't mind, because I'm going to go home. At 9 o'clock, I have to have another program. I have to join, so I'm going to go home and join that program.
No, you do it. Please get some rest.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Next, I'm honored to introduce Nadia Hussain, who became the first female Bangladeshi American Board of Education member in New Jersey history when she was elected to the Bloomingdale Board of Education 2020. In addition, Nadia also served as national board member of ACLU, senior campaign director for Moms Rising, and co-founder of nonprofit organization Bangladeshi American Women's Development Initiative in New Jersey. Welcome, Nadia. Now that you have a deep passion for increasing the political involvement and representation of women in marginalized communities, you have also advocated for greater representation in school boards and local commission. Can you speak to this advocacy and why it is so important to you?
Yeah, so thank you. It's so great to be on, and really, coming after someone like Sheikh Rahman, Senator Rahman, it's been such a trailblazer for our community and just communities of color. So it's just amazing to always hear from him. I will say, running for Board of Ed, my town only has 2 Bangladeshi families, or 3, including mine, in the whole town. It's a very small town. And I'm sure many elected officials here will say, even though we come from the Bangladeshi community and we have our hearts with the community, we also represent the greater community, right? The greater constituency. And I will say now, when you look at school boards, right, we hear about book bans, we hear about, we hear about racial tensions, about what's being taught and what's not being taught, whose rights should be respected and whose rights should be diminished. So much is actually happening on this very local school board level. It's so important for our community. And we know that our Bangladeshi community, one thing I will say, really values education. And although it's wonderful to get good grades and have those opportunities, it's also very important to have our voices heard. I know when I was growing up, one of the reasons I even ran for anything or am doing the work I do today is because I did feel that my parents did not have their voices heard, that I really did feel like we were either silenced by outside factors, and even just internally, we didn't feel empowered to speak up about what was important to us or feel connected to the greater community. So it's so important for our Bangladeshi community to not only value education, which is wonderful, but also learn about what's happening behind the scenes. How are these education decisions being made? And if there is an issue with bullying, with curriculum, with something, you just want to learn more about what's happening in your school, who's making these decisions. It's so important to maybe go to board meetings, but also to run for Board of Ed. Board of Ed is a position where most people don't even run for it or know much about it or know what it does. But it's actually a very important and powerful position for an elected official to have. Right now, I'll give an example. In New Jersey, you spoke about why is it important? Why is this advocacy important? Why is this representation important? New Jersey just passed a bill for Asian American Pacific Islander curriculum. I believe we're the only state after Illinois to do that, to have it in a state mandated curriculum to have Asian American studies. And that has been the work of Asian American, Indian American, East Asian American, I mean, just a coalition of Asian American activists to make this happen, including school board members. But now that it's been implemented, we know this with laws, you implement it, I mean, it passes, but what about implementing it? What does it look like to have it in our districts? So with the law that passed, some standards for schools have just been set. So I mean, it means we have to wait 5 years for it to be officially put into the schools. Now, 5 years is a long time not to have Asian American curriculum, but through advocacy efforts like myself, I'm on a school board. I'm the chair of the curriculum committee, which which means I can bring an issue directly to my school board, to my superintendent, and knowing that I have that voice and those connections, even in my town, I can make that difference, right? And that difference can go throughout the state. So when we talk about representation and why this advocacy matters, our voices really matter. Our children are going to these schools, our tax dollars go to our schools, and to have no say in curriculum, or if we hear something that bothers us, we have people all around the country, if we hear about a book is being banned or someone is pushing back on racial studies or racial justice, education, and just science education, just basic things that sometimes we take for granted, we should feel empowered to say, hey, I'm going to speak up for my voice because the education of my child and the education of every child matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadia, for putting it so eloquently and being such a voice for children, but not for the Bangladeshi community, but for everybody, and reminding us that all of this is possible because of our partners and because of so many people coming together. And we appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Next, I am honored to introduce Shahana Hanif, who recently made history when she became the first Muslim woman and the first Bangladeshi American elected to New York City Council and the first woman to represent the 39th district. Welcome, Council Member Hanif. Now, according to recent surveys, New York City is a home to the largest Bangladeshi American population with nearly 100,000 calling the Big Apple home. And your re-election truly energized this community civic engagement like never before. Can you speak to this fact and also address the most critical issue and needs of the Bangladeshi American community in New York that you hope to address through your leadership?
Thank you so much. Big congratulations to Safa for putting on this incredible lineup of panelists and bringing us together for this important conversation. I'm not sure one like this has been done before with the diversity of elected officials and people interested in running or our candidates coming together in this way. So thank you for doing that, especially in the wake of our just celebration of our independence and victory, because we are a people of deep organizing roots. And what my campaign sought to do was exactly that, was to remind our community, which across the board in New York City, one of the fastest growing, Bangladeshis are the fastest growing Asian ethnic community. I was born and raised in Kensington in the south part of my district, which is home to the largest Bangladeshi and Muslim community in Brooklyn. I wanted to make sure that this was an opportunity for what many candidates before me have called our community as a low propensity voter, that we don't turn out for elections. We might receive information, but we are not coming out to the polls. I wanted to change that. And I did so by rooting my campaign's vision towards one that was explicitly anti-racist and feminist. So I was on a mission to bring out young women, my mother and her friends, and women brought out families. And that is how we win elections. It's as simple as that. Bring out women, you will win. Especially in a time when in this global pandemic, women are bearing the brunt of COVID. And so first and foremost, it's really important for us to recognize who remains on the sidelines of our communities. And for me, really centering the needs of women, the work that women are doing, paid and unpaid, was at the top. And my work with the Bangladeshi community is not new. It didn't come at the leg of the campaign. It didn't come after my win. I've been rooted in the cultural shift of the Bangladeshi community for a very long time, since my diagnosis with lupus at 17, when I recognized just how nebulous New York City's healthcare system is, and many can relate to that no matter where you live. And the language and accessibility within the healthcare system, which prevented my family from understanding, my parents in particular, understanding the nuances and the challenges of lupus on my body. And so I needed to do that work and share out in Bangla what lupus would mean for me and our family and our larger community. And I started writing. And through that, I got to see just structurally how the city abandons our immigrant communities. And Bangladeshis are a part of that fold, given that we represent the city's working class. We are working in lower income wage sectors like taxi industry, like construction, we're street vendors. We're the most visible people New Yorkers are meeting every single day. And so my work around disability justice is one of the catalysts to my activism and my organizing and my pushing my own family and our community to better understand that the pain I was experiencing through lupus, the nebulous healthcare system I had to navigate, the inaccessible transit system I had to navigate, is not something that I was experiencing by myself. Every working class New Yorker, everybody taking the train station, using a stroller, using a walking device that needs an elevator and escalator, cannot rely on the subway system for it. Our immigrant families trying to receive care through COVID suffered because we did not have adequate language access. And so these issues are not my issues, these are our issues. And so I ran on those struggles, those pains, and we delivered hope. This campaign was about bringing the Bangladeshi vote together. And what was unique about my race is that we had another Bangladeshi candidate in the race. And I think that's the beauty of our democracy at this time, where we saw this rising up of Bangladeshis across the entire city, with so many candidates running for assembly, Senate, city council. We had a real powerful waking up of electoral organizing. And so I'm the first Bangladeshi and Muslim woman, but I'm certainly not the last. And I'm so excited by the responsibility that I've taken on to ensure that Bangladeshi community and the broader Muslim community is at the table that we're expanding in the city council for a legislative and budgetary agenda that meets our community's needs. And one of the examples I'll give as to what my representation means in the council is at a public safety hearing, I was able to call on the New York Police Department's chief on counterterrorism about an apology, demanding an apology for the city's surveillance program that was enacted on the Muslim community. I also asked for a detailed report to be released about the extent to which this Muslim surveillance program was carried out post 9/11. And the commissioner denied any surveillance took place. And so it's important that as the Muslim member of the council, no matter how many Muslims I represent, I am the person in these rooms right now. And I have a big responsibility to shoulder to make sure that we hold the city, the administration, the mayor accountable. And that's my role as council member. And I look forward to just all the ways in which through my being here, we'll expand on joy and our collective happiness for the city. We deserve happiness. And we deserve a city that is ensuring that we are not abandoned, that we are included through civic engagement initiatives, that we are heard, and that we feel safe in the city. I'm also really just honored to have two Bangladeshi women staffers on my team, Moose, who I think is here, and Faiza, who is our constituent services director. Moose on the team wears many hats. She's our office manager and has a portfolio within policy and constituent services. But me coming into City Hall means that I'm bringing in more people into City Hall. And so I'm doing that by creating the next generation of staffers. We know that our government offices, it's not just who is elected, it is also about who is holding these positions in our offices. And so really excited by the energy, the enthusiasm of the Bangladeshi community, in particular, young Bangladeshi feminists who feel up to the task to lead in this moment.
Thank you, Councilmember Hanif. Thank you for sharing your story about your resiliency and the challenges. I am very sure organizing on its own is challenging, and bringing change in New York will be a challenge, but if anybody can, we believe you can, and it's so inspiring to see that you practice what you preach. So thank you for all you do, and we look forward to seeing you growing and bringing so much change to New York City. Next, I am honored to introduce Intishan Chaudhary, who became the youngest town manager in the history of New Jersey in 2018 when he was appointed as a Prospect Park Borough Administrator. Intishan also helped co-found the South Asian Caucus of the New Jersey Young Democrats and received the 2020 New Professional to Local Government Award from the New Jersey Municipal Managers Association. Welcome, Intishan. Now, you have often spoken about how Mayor Mohammed Khairullah has been an inspiring mentor to you in your current role. Can you share with us the importance of representation in local government, as well as the importance of mentors like Mayor Khairullah in ensuring younger, more diverse voices are represented in the halls of government?
Well, thank you, Sister Anika. And what a great segue from Councilwoman Hanif, who touched a little bit about it, and she's gotten on the ground and started to pave the way for young operatives like myself to serve behind the scenes, because you do have folks that are in the limelight in the face of government, but you need folks to be in various positions in various capacities doing the work behind the scenes. And I was given that opportunity by many people. Call him the mayor. I call him my former high school teacher because he was my former high school teacher back 11 years ago. And since then, we've maintained a great relationship, and he's given me the keys to the Borough Hall, and I've been overseeing the day-to-day operations here since 2019. And I currently serve as the youngest municipal administrator in the state and the first of Bangladeshi descent in the country. And a lot of folks think that it just came with just me, our relationship being a student-teacher, but it took more than that. It took someone believing in me and my abilities. Prior to my time as a borough administrator, I served in 2 years in municipal government in various capacities that the mayor challenged me with. And through that, we had a lot of conversations of policy and public management and overseeing various projects. And it was under his tutelage that I understand the nuances of municipal government and what it's like, because at every level you can kick the can down the road, but the buck stops at Borough Hall. And there's no better example than the pandemic itself. In my second year as a municipal administrator, I had to oversee a public health crisis here in the borough, and it was all new to me, but it was through his mentorship and his guidance that I was able to do so. Mentorship is quite important. The mayor often talks about planting a seed. And what are you going to be doing upon the positions that you receive or you're able to be fortunate to have? How are you able to push the agenda forward? And that's what he did with me. A lot of what I do today, I am day to day. I'm a borough administrator. I oversee a budget of $6.5 million, and I make decisions on a daily basis that benefit our residents here on behalf of the mayor and council and the residents at large. But I'm also across the state trying to do different things to uplift our folks, specifically the Bangladeshi Americans and young people in general in government and working behind the scenes. And when he speaks about paving it forward, I believe that it's my duty as well, because titles don't mean anything if you don't deliver, if I can position other folks to do the same. You know, one of the things I'm most proud of upon a lot of historic achievements that we've had here in the smallest town in Passaic County was a mentorship program that we've created here in Prospect Park. We have young people at every level, and that's because of the vision of the mayor. And we were able to have an internship program that have people from all kinds of backgrounds, but all kinds of folks that are from high school and college, and they're able to get involved and get inspired. And I kind of roll up my sleeves and I kind of assist them with some of their college applications and see what they're trying to do. And they turn around to me and said, I never thought I'd be interested in municipal government. And there is a spot in municipal government and in politics for all of us. And I could tell you that there is a big hole in municipal government because there's a lot of retirements happening from the baby boomer population. So there's a lot of positions that need to be filled. I think the mayor has also taught me to be humble and walk with grace and always continue to learn. I think there's a lot of situations I'm trying to learn and get better in, and we feed off of each other all the time. And in our many conversations, he always tells me privately, you know, I get a lot from you. And because of that and his belief in me, we were actually the first town of our size in the entire state of New Jersey. And this is a town of 6,300 residents with less than $10 million in our municipal budget to have our own municipal app that services our residents. And that's something that these big cities can dream of, and they have, but we were able to put our heads together, and I was able to run with my dream of modernizing municipal government. And the mayor, who's been the longest serving Muslim mayor currently in the state of New Jersey, said, you know what, that's a new idea. I'm gonna roll with it, let's do it. And now we're digitizing our files. We're doing all these cool things. We have a great team, and he's running with someone that's only 25 years old at the helm of municipal operations. And he's been doing it since I was like 12 years old. And he's open to ideas. So I think mentorship it's two-sided. It's a double-edged sword. You know, you got to be able to give and take. And I think we've had that. And I think folks that are in leadership positions like Councilwoman Hanif, Senator Sheikh Rahman, Nadia Hussein, Dr. Nina Ahmed, these folks have paved the way. And now I believe they will continue to place folks like myself in our respective positions to get the job done on a day-to-day basis behind the scenes to help push the agenda that they're trying to push every single day.
Thank you, Intishan. Congratulations on your app. It's definitely very exciting. This might be a trend. We might see more states now, but we have evidence that you were both the first to make this happen. Love hearing about the dynamic you both have, and I hope to see more young voices like you uplifting our community, making changes.
Thank you so much, sister.
Next, I am honored to introduce a phenomenal leader who serves on SAFA's advisory council, Dr. Nina Ahmed, who ran a groundbreaking campaign in 2020 as a Democratic nominee for Pennsylvania Auditor General, endorsed by President Obama. Dr. Ahmed previously served as a deputy mayor for Philadelphia and on President Obama's Asian American Pacific Islander Presidential Advisory Commission, and currently serves as the president of the Pennsylvania chapter of National Organization for Women. Welcome, Dr. Ahmed.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here and see all these amazing stars. It is so heartwarming. Like, Senator Rahman, he and I are probably a little older than the rest of you, and it really warms our soul to see people picking up the baton and going forward, and in such progressive manner. That is why it's so inspiring to have someone like Shahana Hanif, Councilwoman Shahana Hanif, and Nadia, and all you, in fact, and SAFA itself, to have an organization like SAFA that has come together and have a coalition of our South Asian community. You know, as somebody said, we can't do this alone. We have to work across many different lines, whether it's race, ethnicity, religion, even sometimes political, persuasion. we have to work together to achieve certain things. So first, I just wanted to start off by saying, as a Bangladeshi American, I am so very proud of the enormous strides that Bangladesh has made in the last 50 years. Today, this is March, we had our independence. This is also Women's History Month. And so that intersection is very important because it is women that have really changed the landscape, the economic landscape in Bangladesh. You guys weren't even alive then, but I lived as a young child, I lived through the war. And I remember what it was like. So for Bangladesh to have come so far, even though there are problems, listen, every country has problems and we have to keep working. But the point that I want to make is there was actual policy decisions made to empower women when Bangladesh started. That's why we're seeing so much difference, right? Without these policy decisions that get enacted, these things don't happen. Women have been given quotas on the parliament. They have quotas to do work where there's decisions being made. These are critical things that we have to look at. In fact, this country has a lot to learn from Bangladesh in terms of empowering women and changing the paradigm. All the metrics that you measure progress, Bangladesh in South Asia is one of the most advanced, even though we still are, have a huge population to deal with. So all of that to say that I think we have a fighting spirit. I think we come from a heritage of not taking no for an answer, standing up and fighting to the point that, we're standing here today. I'm here today because 3 million people died and 200,000 plus women were brutalized. So that made me an advocate for women. So as you said, in your introduction, I've been working, and I was very glad to hear Shahana speak to empowering feminists in our community to come out and vote. And she's right. When women participate, they bring their family along. They're the nerve center of most families. They decide on the budget. They decide on how things are going to be spent. So they're an important part of the economy. We just have to make sure that they're recognized and they get their due. So when I work at the same job as a man does with the same qualifications, I should not be paid less for that. Right. So these are things that we still have to do. Bangladesh has a ways to go. It has things to do. We still have child marriages. We still have a lot of violence against women. We have to deal with that. But we have those issues here as well, not just in our community, but across the board. So I just wanted to first say that how proud I am of the country I come from, but how proud I am of Bangladeshi Americans here, and the fact that we're, in the scheme of things, not a very huge community, but we've learned to build bridges. Just this event today is really a testament to our bridge building, to have Neha, to have Harini work with us. And they've done an amazing job. They're such wonderful women to work with, and they've become friends over the years. But this is the trust building that needs to happen for all of us to make progress. And I just wanted to touch on, you said, what are the barriers to women running? One of the big barriers to women running, which I faced, is having enough money. When I run for a statewide office, that's 12 million people in the state of Pennsylvania, and I was trying to reach them. So I had a contentious primary, which I won, much to the chagrin of the establishment. But in the general, it was an election year for electing our president, very contentious. So all eyes were on that. Nobody cared who was Auditor General. They weren't writing checks for an Auditor General. So I didn't have the resources to fight back on the negative ads that the Republicans were running. And that was a problem. I didn't have a ground game because I didn't have resources. So, and the Republicans were very well organized. So we have to take some lessons learned that we must make sure, especially women when they're running, they have the networks. They themselves might not have a lot of resources, but we need to connect them to resources. And that's the job that we need to do, to keep our eyes open and mentor people, support people, connect people, and make sure they're ready to run and that they can run a good race. And then, again, making coalitions. I couldn't have had over 3 million votes in this state, a brown Muslim woman, a scientist, and a feminist. So people over 3 million people trusted me to vote for me. So those cracks that I made are the cracks that Shahana went through, Shoma went through, many of you went through. So we're going to continue making cracks and working through those cracks. And I want to end by saying this country finally has a woman in the White House. And she likes to say that while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last, because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. That is our Vice President Kamala Harris, who is, part Black, part South Asian. That's a bridge building in her right there. So we have to continue to do that. And I thank you all for having me. And this is just a wonderful program. So congratulations to all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. And it's so important that you mentioned about the improvement and just the progress that Bangladesh has made in 50 years. I had the privilege, I visit often because I visit family, but if for any of us who haven't been in a while, you have to visit Dhaka, you have to visit Bangladesh. The improvement, the progress, infrastructure, is amazing to see what has happened in just only 50 years. So thank you for pointing that out. And as always, it's always great to hear you. You are somebody who truly is in action. I see what you preach, and always a humble woman. And I thank you for everything you do.
I just wanted to say Ramadan Mubarak, it's coming up soon. And so those who observe and fast, make sure it's going to be tough. It's going to be long days. So good luck with all of that. Thank you.
It's very true. Saturday is the first night of breaking fast. So thank you. Ramadan Mubarak to you. Now I am honored to introduce one of our history change makers, Judge Soma Syed, who was recently elected as New York City Civil Court's Queens County Judge, and who will be giving the keynote address today. Judge Syed has served as an attorney for over 17 years, committing to thousands of hours to pro bono legal work, supporting the people of Queens with housing, immigration, and employment, and more. She is the immediate past president of the Queens County Women's Bar Association and chairperson of the New York State Bar Association Lawyer Referral and Information Service. Welcome, Judge Syed. We're so honored to have you here today. We just want to hear you about your experience, how it's to be the first, and just talk about why it's so important for us to continue to stay involved in the possibilities and our contributions. I think she just hopped on, we just hopped off. I will, for now, we're gonna let our Judge Syed to get on in a few minutes. I think she just got knocked off the Zoom. While we wait for that, I would like to go over a video that we have. We're fortunate to share with you an inspiring word by nationally recognized Bangladeshi American poet, Tarfia Faizullah, who is Fulbright scholar and an editor for Asian American Literary Review, whose works have been featured in Academy of American Poets, Smithsonian, Rubin Museum of Art, among many other places. Following Ms. Faizullah, we are proud to share performances by singer, composer, and activist Ms. Tanjina Islam, who was formerly part of the Bangladeshi for by the National Council, and who was the first Bangladeshi artist to work on the international album released by Billboard Asia in 2018. Oh, we have, my apologies, we have another wonderful guest of ours, Nabila Islam. I'm honored to introduce Nabila Islam, candidate for Georgia State Senate, who in 2020 served as a senior advisor to Gwinnett Democratic Party, where she helped lead outreach to Vietnamese, Korean, and Latino communities, who founded the group Save Our Senate during the critical Georgia runoff, who knocked on 34,000 doors, helping to elect Senators Warnock and Ossoff. Welcome, Ms. Islam. Now you're a rising leader in Georgia Democrat politics and was awarded the Future is Blue Award by the Atlanta Young Democrats. Can you share with us the impetus for your candidacy and your journey as a Bangladeshi American woman candidate?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for South Asians for America for putting this together. And what a great group of people. I ran for Congress last cycle, and I got to meet everyone that is elected now. So thanks for putting this together again. And I also wanted to say I stand on the shoulders of Senator Sheikh Rahman. He broke the glass ceiling for so many of us, for Muslim Americans, for Bangladeshis, for immigrants, and we're so proud to have him elected to be a voice for us in the state Senate. I'm running for state Senate District 7, which actually borders his Senate district as well. And I joke around and tell people, like, I can't wait to have over-representation and a little Bangladesh. So I'm running because my upbringing inspired me to run as the daughter of Bangladeshi immigrants who worked really hard to have create a better life for their children. My parents came here in the 70s and 80s, and growing up here, my parents worked hard to give us a good public education, and give us opportunities to go to college and become, community leaders. And when I was growing up in Gwinnett County, which is the 7th most diverse county in the entire country, we never saw people like Senator Sheikh Rahman or diverse leaders at the table. And for so long, it was dominated by white Republican men. And, as the saying goes, when you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And I wanted to change that. And so that's why I got involved into political organizing. I started to work on campaigns in 2012, actually, was my first campaign. And I've worked on 6 or 7 since then. But I think it's so important that we have more people that run for office from the Bangladeshi community, so that we can be a voice for our community, but also have people that are, leaders, whether it comes to working in campaigns, whether it comes to working in advocacy groups. Our voices matter, and we share a story that is common but isn't told. And I would tell people, our story is not unique, it just isn't told. And I'm running for office because I want to tell our story and also fight for our communities. And we're one of 14 states that still hasn't expanded Medicaid. We need to fully fund our education system. And as we know, Georgia's ground zero when it comes to voter suppression. And this is, having a unique effect, especially on Black and Brown people, people from low-income communities, and also the Bangladeshi community. And so I'm fighting to make sure that we expand our access to the ballot, and also make sure that we have language access. Me and Senator Rahman have one of the most diverse districts in the state, and language access is very important, because when we don't have access, when it comes to language, it locks out our community to so many resources at the city level, at the county level, and at the state level. And so that's going to be a priority for me in the state government, making sure that our communities are able to connect to the resources that they need, and language isn't a reason that they aren't able to. So I think it's so important that we continue to run, and everyone that has spoken so far has been an inspiration. And I think it's important that, we're not going to be the last to get elected. It's important to continue to build the pipeline. And I mentor Bangladeshi kids, people that I grew up with that are interested in running for office. And I think it's important to have those conversations and lift each other up. And Sheikh Rahman has done that for me, and I will continue to do that for so many folks in our community. So again, I think it's important that we continue to be leaders in our community and give our community a voice.
Thank you, Nabila. We look forward to seeing all the success that you're going to continue growing with, and we are really excited for all the success that you're going through right now.
Thank you.
Now we have our Judge Soma Syed, who was able to hop back on. As mentioned, she was elected as New York City's Civil Court Queens County Judge. She served for 17 years, over thousands of hours in pro bono legal cases for the community of Queens in New York City, and we're so excited to have her tonight. Judge Syed, we would love to hear about your experience in being the first judge and how that's been, but also why it's so important for civic engagement and contributing, and to make sure that we're engaged in making sure that we with our American community.
Well, good evening, everyone. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me. And let me say first, happy 51st Independence Day to Bangladesh. And thank you to my late father, who was a freedom fighter, and all the freedom fighters who fought for Bangladesh. And also, today is the last day for Women's History Month. So it's super exciting to be asked to talk about my journey asked to talk about what has meant to become the first Bangladeshi American elected judge in the USA. It's been amazing. New York City is the city of immigrants. I'm an immigrant. It's a city of dreams, aspirations, and the struggle and the fight for justice, representation. And surely my election has meant so many things to so many different people. As I have been talking, meeting people, they're excited, they feel hopeful. But more importantly, I can speak from personal experience that when you sit in the judiciary, your name is Soma Syed. It's not a common name. And when people see someone who looks a bit different, or they look like themselves, or who has a different name, people feel comfortable. People feel there's representation. And definitely having a diverse judiciary bench is a bonus for our judiciary system. And that's what's so exciting, changing times where we are actually focusing on diversified bench in New York State and across the USA. But more importantly, to have a Bangladeshi American on the map in the judiciary system, it's a bonus. It's a positive energy for all the other Bangladeshi American and other from minority communities who want to go into the judiciary. So it has been exciting, and the credits definitely go to my late mother, my late father, my husband who has been so supportive, and everyone who has voted. It was one of the most contested elections in recent times. But we did it. And I'm happy to say that I received the highest vote out of all other Democratic nominees who were on the ballot, almost 155,000. So that says a lot about who I am as an individual, as the work that I have done, and the contributions that I will be making, and I'm continuously making. So it's exciting, it's great, and I'm also involved in mentoring. I've done that. I think mentorship is a huge process to ensure that there's a pipeline for other law students or even college students or attorneys who want to go in this route, because there's so many routes one can take. You can become a judge, you can become a partner in a big law firm, you can work in the court system, you can run a law firm, you can work in-house. But those who want to pursue this route, we have great judges associations, bar association that I have been so keenly involved and active, and I'm continuously doing that. So it's exciting, definitely exciting.
Thank you, Judge Syed. It definitely is exciting, and it's wonderful. It's a historical win, and we look forward to you bringing justice and progress for our community and our country. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Have a great night, everyone, and a Ramadan Mubarak, and best wishes. Take care. Bye-bye.
Next, I would like to have, we're going to introduce our Bangladeshi American poet, Tariq Faizullah. We will have a few activists and composers and singer, Tanjina Islam, and it will be followed by a Bangladeshi cultural dance, which is by a young girl named Madiha Ishal. And this will be a bye from me. Thank you, Judge Syed, as well as Senator Rahman, Council Member Hanif, Board Member Nadia Hussain, Administrator Chowdhury, Nabil Islam, and Dr. Nina Ahmed for joining us tonight and for really making changes happen for our community and country. Ramadan Mubarak to everybody. But most of all, I also wanted to give a big thank you to Neha and Harini, who this would not have been possible tonight, for all the background work and all the groundwork. Thank you so much, Harini. I appreciate all you do. And with that, I will let our performances start, but please stay on because we have our second panel starting, which Saddam Salim will moderate. Thank you, everyone. Good night and Ramadan Mubarak.
Independence Day to all the Bangladeshis around the world. I want to thank all the freedom fighters and give my respect to all the martyrs who sacrificed their life to give us a free nation and independent Bangladesh. As a Bangladeshi American artist, I always try to represent my country and also showcase my language, Bangla, whenever I perform. তাই আমি বাংলায় গান গাই, আমি বাংলার গান গাই, আমি আমার আমিকে চিরদিন বাংলায় খুঁজে পাই. As a South Asian activist, I work to push the conversation around matters of immigration, race, gender, and religion. My goal is to end the oppression of caste apartheid, Islamophobia, and religious intolerance. As a South Asian American, I believe that this is the prime time to get involved in mainstream politics so that we have a voice, our voice is heard, and we have a representative who can address all the issues that our immigrant community face, and we can resolve it right now to secure the future of our next generation. Thank you to South Asians for America for inviting me to celebrate the Independence Day of Bangladesh. It is a great honor for me. I would like to dedicate this song to all the Bangladeshis and especially to all the freedom fighters and martyred who sacrificed their lives to give us a free independent Bangladesh.
তোমার কথায় হাসতে পারি, তোমার কথায় কাঁদতে পারি, তোমার কথায় হাসতে পারি, মরতে পারি তোমার বুকে, মরতে পারি তোমার বুকে, বুকে যদি রাখো আমায়, বুকে যদি রাখো মাগো এমন করে আকুল হয়ে আমায় তুমি ডাকো। জন্ম আমার ধন্য হলো মাগো এমন করে আকুল হয়ে আমায় তুমি ডাকো।
Hi, my name is Rukia Hashi and this is my daughter.
I'm Hadia Isha.
Today we'll perform and represent our Bangladeshi culture.
Hi everyone. My name is Saddam Aslan Salim, and I'm proud to serve as SAFA's co-state director for the state of Virginia, in addition to serving as Vice President of Fairfax Young Democrats here in Virginia. Today, I am honored to moderate our next panel on promoting Bangladeshi American civil engagement with a truly inspired group of organizers and activists who have done so much to lift up Bangladeshi American voices nationwide. First up, I'm honored to introduce Nahida Ali, who serves as the chair of the Women's Empowerment Committee and Fobana Mainstream Committee before, and now serves as an executive member of the Central Committee of Fobana, Federation of Bangladeshi Associations in Northern America, one of the oldest Bangladeshi organizations in Northern America, which brings together thousands of Bangladeshi Americans annually to lift up community interest and issues. Ms. Ali is also founder director of Bangladeshi American Women's Association of Texas, general secretary of Bangladeshi Association of North Texas, and has been very active in diverse social, political, and community outreach programs, not only in Dallas, but nationwide. Welcome, Ms. Ali. Now, Bangladeshi Americans, as our national director, Ms. Dewan, said in her welcome address, are one of the fastest growing Asian origin groups in the country, and one of the fastest growing voting blocs in key states like Texas and Georgia. Can you speak to the importance of educating our community and the political process and increasing electoral participation?
Thank you, Saddam. This is Nahida Ali, and I'm congratulating all Bangladeshi Americans today at the auspicious time of our 51st Independence Day. Congratulations. Being a Bangladeshi American, we are proud of our heritage, proud of our history of struggle and how we got our independence. And today, I pay my respect for the Muktijodha, Jara Muktijodhe Mara Giechen. To your question, Saddam, there is no alternative to teaching, educating our community in everywhere about participation in the political process. We, coming from Bangladesh, we know only one political system. The political system over here in North America is totally different than what we have in Bangladesh. And our community people, our Bangladeshi Americans, they need to know the difference so that we can choose our leaders who's going to serve our interest. So we need to start from the grassroots level. We need to educate our Bangladeshi Americans how important each vote is. We are the peace-loving people, and most of our Bangladeshi Americans are like, they will go to the vote when there is a presidential election. But we do not participate in the city election, county election, statewide elections, and that's where we fail. In Georgia, in Texas, there's been incredible work done over the last 2 years. We have a surge of Asian American voters, and that's how in this midterm election and in the coming election, we are hoping to do a tremendous job in getting our South Asian candidates selected. Bangladeshi Americans, they just need to know what are at stake for us at the city level, at the county level, at the state level. And that's when I'm pretty sure each Bangladeshi Americans will be motivated, inspired to go out to vote and choose the candidates that are going to serve our interest.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ali, for your leadership on behalf of Bangladeshi American community nationwide. Next, I'm honored to introduce someone who has been supportive of both South Asians for Biden and SAFA, Tamina Watson, a Seattle-based immigration attorney, podcaster, and activist who is the founder of Watson Immigration Law, founder of the Washington Immigrant Defense Network, which funds and supports legal services for detained low-income immigrants, and the author of 2 books. Welcome, Ms. Watson. Now, in your most recent book entitled Legal Heroes in the Trump Era, you talked about 14 legal heroes who have responded to the crisis of the Trump presidency in innovative and inspiring ways as activists. You are also part of the Bangladeshi Americans Bangladeshi Americans for Political Action nationwide. There are many Bangladeshi Americans like you actively advocating for critical issues who are everyday heroes. Why is their advocacy and political engagement important?
Well, thank you so much to Safa, to Neha, to Harini. And I want to talk a little bit about why Safa is important in just a moment. But I'm also inspired by every single Bangladeshi American here, because you really have blazed trails like no other, setting the path for so many of us in the next generation. So before I come back to why Safa is important, let me tell you why I became an advocate. A lot of us here were not necessarily advocates when we started our careers, when we started our journey in America. What we found was our work serving the community was being hampered by policies and laws that were not in favor of the broader good, the greater good. As an immigration attorney, I had to go through the immigration process myself when I moved to America, if you haven't tuned into my accent. But I call myself a public servant without a public office. When you are serving the community, you want to make sure that the policies actually do apply to the people that you're serving. And what I realized is that the immigration laws of our country now are from the 1950s and 60s. They're so old that they don't serve anybody well. And so I started to advocate for policy changes. I started to write about the laws and why they weren't working for everyday people, whether they're businesses or people from our own communities. And I realized that it doesn't matter how much I write about these things if we do not have the Nabila Islam, the Sheikh Rahman, we don't have the people in those positions, we cannot get the voices at the table. Just like somebody said earlier, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So the advocacy grew. But what I realized is the Bangladeshi community is not active in the political scene. Our communities are growing and they're getting more interested in all of this, but there's also not a lot of coordination. And steps in SAFA. SAFA, South Asians for America, is an incredibly important community organizer, an organization that has really highlighted why the South Asian community is so important in the democratic process, also about how we can mobilize all of us together. It's a bit like those stories we heard when we were younger. If you have one stick, it's easy to break. But if you have a lot of sticks together, you cannot break that. And so advocacy is important. And you've heard earlier about education. You've heard earlier about the city council. You've heard, somebody mentioned immigration already. If you want to see change so that your children can have better education, that you have universal health care, so you don't have to pay thousands of dollars just for a one-night stay in a hospital. If you want to see changes in small things and big things, you have to be part of the process. And so advocacy becomes important. It doesn't have to be scary. I think one of the things about our Bangladeshi community is that it seems like a lot of work. Let's just have a gathering with lots of food and some, let's just do some hashi tatta. But that event can become something really important. What calls you? Take action towards that. So know that if we do not have our voices heard, we're not going to be able to fix the issues that we care about. So that is why advocacy is important. And that is why I have written so much. I talk about it so much. And I'm so grateful that the South Asians for America is bringing us together and leading the community in a way that the voice becomes louder and stronger.
Thank you so much, Ms. Watson. We are grateful for your advocacy. Next, I'm honored to introduce a truly inspired community organizer from North Carolina, Rashidul Islam, who was formerly part of Biden for President North Carolina AAPI Leadership Council, and who has mobilized the Bangladeshi American community in North Carolina to support countless Democratic candidates and campaigns over decades. Welcome, Mr. Islam. Now, you played a critical role in the 2022 presidential election as an organizer in Saab's phone banking and postcarding efforts to turn out the South Asian vote in key states around the country, including Michigan, which has one of the largest Bangladeshi American voting blocks. As we look to the 2022 midterm election, what must we do to mobilize the Bangladeshi American community to be a key Democratic voting bloc in the battleground states?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Saddam Salim. It's my honor to be here to present myself among so many distinguished panelists. First of all, I like to convey my sincere homage and respect to 3 million martyrs who have made the supreme sacrifice in 1971. Because of their sacrifice, we have our motherland. So I deeply respect their sacrifice that they have made in 1971. I think in last 51 years, at the same time, I also like to express my profound thanks and gratitude to the SAFA leadership, especially Harina and Neha. And I think they are outstanding in their way. But the biggest thing, this is the first time we are having our own program and we are having the opportunity to celebrate our Independence Day. So it's a big achievement from our side, and I'm very much profoundly thankful for arranging such a program for us. But what I was planning to say that in last 50 years, Bangladesh made a lot of achievement. I think I can have 20 pages laundry list, but biggest achievement that I believe that we had, that we have made a lot of significant improvement in terms of economic emancipation, women empowerment. But at the same time, what happened in the USA that we Bangladeshi folks came up and truly involved in political process. And that is the, I think, biggest changes that we have seen in last couple of decades. And I think we can proud about ourselves and the leaders who are putting their time and efforts to make it happen. So that is the biggest thing that we feel that we in that direction. And during my involvement in last election, one thing I told my lot of Bangladeshi folks, because there's a tendency they don't want to be so much involved in political process. And one thing I tell them very straightforward, that only one thing that has the power has given by the constitution, you can vote. And that power, you have the opportunity to select to whom you can vote. You can have your selection process. You can shop around the best candidate who will listen to you. So you need to learn how to use that power. And if you don't use it, that's your fault. Nobody is going to help you out. So that is the message I try to convey, and it really worked to some extent. And also I made it very clear that we immigrants should be involved in the Democratic Party, because if you look the history from the Social Security in 1935 from the Roosevelt, 1964 the Civil Rights Act, 1965 the Lyndon Johnson that he did the Medicare. So those are the things that we are getting the full advantage. So we should learn how to pay back something when it comes to do that. So the election process is one way we can make sure that yes, we are the part of the process and we have our voice, we know how to express our opinion, and then we'll have our identity in our society. And if we can establish that thing, that will help us to grow, not us, our next generation, our country, and who we are as a Bangladeshi, that will help. So that is the premises that we need to understand and work together to make sure it happen. And the good part is that we have the coalition for SAFA. There are a lot of synergy we can use from them. We can also use their expertise, their knowledge, their skill set, and try to make ourselves more resourceful. So it is our challenge how you can handle it, because our community has been involved in a lot of other direction. And I think times comes when you need to change your direction. This is the time how we want to be positioned in this country, and only one way we can do it correctly to get involved in the political process. So I think that message I always try to convey, and I think that is the best thing we can do. If we want to be involved in the political process, then we can make some difference from us, from our country, and the immigrant community as a whole. So again, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and it is my pleasure to speak up in this forum. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Islam. We are grateful for your organizing efforts. Lastly, I'm honored to introduce Nuashaba Rubna Rashid, who was an active member of South Asians for Biden's California chapter, and who is now part of SAFA's California chapter, and who is a leader in Bangladeshi American Democratic Coalition of Northern California, and also actively part of Bay Area Bangladeshi or Bangladesh Association. Welcome, Ms. Rashid. Now, you have been a passionate voice for Bangladeshi American representation and interest nationwide, and served as an MC for an international conference on Bangladesh hosted by UC Berkeley's Institute of South Asian Studies and Chowdhury Center for Bangladeshi Studies. What are your thoughts on the challenges to promoting Bangladeshi American civil engagement, and how can we successfully address those challenges?
Thank you, Saddam, and thank you, Harini and Safa, for inviting me to this panel today, to this talk. And really, I think this is one of the first that I've ever been part of. So thank you again for Safa for bringing us all together nationwide, especially to celebrate Bangladesh's 51st independence. So, congrats to all my fellow Bangladeshi Americans, and our respect to all the Mukti Yoddhas who gave their lives to bring us our own land and to be the right to speak our own language, Bengali. A little bit about myself. I came here for my undergrad studies, 30 some years ago. And my background is economics and finance. I'm a financial advisor now. But I'm also, I'm culturally active. I always have been back in Bangladesh and here. So that's how I got involved in, doing dance and cultural programs through Bangladeshi Association in the Bay Area. And, with Chowdhury Center and other projects throughout the last a few years. And since I became a citizen, I'm a first generation Bangladeshi American. I've always voted in the elections, in presidential elections, but you're absolutely right. I don't think I didn't get involved in local and city and state elections till much later. And because we are always trying, because I was born and brought up in Bangladesh, at least till I was 19. Now I've spent more years of my life in the US as a Bangladeshi American. So, we are always trying to promote our culture and history. My husband and I also have a company called Bioscope, and we show Bangladeshi American films throughout the country because we feel that film teaches a lot, through again, visual. So, through song, through dance, through film, we're trying to promote our own Bangladeshi culture and heritage and language. But it's for our kids, and my kids are in their 20s, one's working and one's in college. For them, America is their birth country. Bangladesh is just where they go visit their grandparents. It's where their parents are from. So for them, and I see a lot of people who are the second generation here, and that's wonderful to see, that have gotten engaged. And that's, for them, we need to start slowly educating. The very important way, the only way we can get more civic engagement in the Bangladeshi American community is to educate them. Like our parents or our grandparents always encourage people going into STEM, engineering, architecture, becoming doctors, then maybe some law and, other careers. We need to get people more involved from the get-go, from when they're young, that if we want our voices heard, if we need to educate them about going into volunteering and, going into studying political science and law, get into local government, and, and then they can make a difference in Washington, D.C. We have to start encouraging, voter registration and getting volunteering through associations, local Bangladeshi associations. And I'm actually not an active leader in Bangladeshi American Democratic Coalition anymore, but I stay active as a member in both the groups. I've been a cultural secretary in Bangladesh American Association for a number of years, to get them involved in getting our voices heard. As Tamina mentioned, sometimes we tend to be more interested in having parties and dawats rather than getting involved in our community and getting our voices heard. So during the last administration, I felt compelled to start volunteering through South Asians for Biden, which is now South Asians for America, because we need to get our voices heard. And it's a historic time that we have a woman like Kamala Harris, who's a double woman of color, in the White House. But, there are people there, Bangladesh has had their first woman prime minister, and many other countries as well. So we still need to have a lot of strides going in the right direction. So education, from the get-go, from when our children are young, and getting more involved and spreading the word about, if we want any changes made that helps us, our community, we need to get our voices heard. So that would be, I'm so happy to see so many of our young generation getting involved in politics in their local government. I'm just going to have a shout out to one of, this is a kid who used to be in one of my dance dramas that I've choreographed over the years, and his sisters and other brother as well. And he is running for California State Senate, Jamal Khan, in District 10. So, we need to get, and he's a UC Berkeley grad, a Harvard Law School graduate, I think same as Harini's daughter, almost the same background. And we need to get these type of people engaged, and we need to go out there and vote for them, and so that we can get our representation in the local government and in the White House. So all the best to everybody, and happy Women's Day to all the fellow women here. As a fellow feminist, I'm glad to see it. We've come a long way, but we still have a long stride to do. So we just need to get our voices heard, spread the word, get our communities involved. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.